For the final video in the game board series, I'm going to show you how to add shadows to the objects that you added to your game board to make it look more realistic. Now there are many different ways to add shadows. I'm just going to show you two of those today. So I'm going to start off with the layer that has the cat on it. So I'm selecting that layer in the Layers panel, and I'm going to use a built-in Photoshop feature called Drop Shadow. So down here at the bottom of the Layers panel, I'm going to click this FX button and choose the second option down, which is Drop Shadow. And I get this dialog box which has lots of options on it. So I can actually click on the drop shadow over here and drag it away from the cat so we can see what it looks like. So I'm going to make it a little bit softer by increasing the size of it to make the edges a little bit fuzzy. And the opacity is set at 75, which is kind of dark, so I'm going to back that off. For now I'm going to back it off to 60, and I might change that later. So with those selections made, I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And I'm going to go over here to the Layers panel and right-click on the word that says Drop Shadow and choose Create Layer from the menu. And it says that some aspects of this technique will not reproduce well, but drop shadows actually do reproduce pretty well, so I'm going to go ahead and click OK. So that changed that layer style into its own separate layer. So I'm going to click on that layer and I'm going to move it so it lines up with the cat, and then I'm going to go to Edit, Free Transform, and I get these handles around the shadow. Now I'm going to hold down Control and grab the shadow and bend it backward so it looks like a real shadow is falling on the ground behind the cat. And when I get it where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and click the check mark. And I still think that the shadow's a little bit too dark, so I'm going to go up here to the opacity and I'm going to back that off again. That looks a lot better right there. So that's one way to add a drop shadow. For this particular image, I really don't think that type of shadow looks good. I think it's too harsh, and the lighting that these photos were taken in was indirect and subtle lighting, and it wouldn't produce such bold shadows. So I'm going to use a different technique. So I'm just going to take the shadow that I just made and throw it in the trash. That technique of making shadows may work perfectly well for your project, it just didn't work very well for mine. So I'm going to click the Create New Layer button, and I'm going to take this new layer that I just made called Layer 3, and I'm going to put it underneath my cat and myself. I'm going to get the magnifying glass and make it large around my cat's feet. I'm going to get the paintbrush tool and set it on a nice fuzzy edged brush. So let's say maybe this 17 right here. And the color is black, but I'm going to make the opacity of that, let's say 60% for now, and I can change that later if I need to. So I think I'm actually going to make the brush size a little bit larger. I'm going to, on my keyboard next to the P key are the bracket keys, and the right bracket will, if you push that, it will make the brush larger. So now I'm going to just very carefully paint a nice soft shadow around the edge of the cat, and I'm going to hold down the space bar, which will convert the brush tool into the hand tool, and I'm going to go down to where my hands are at, and I'm going to add a nice soft shadow here and on one side of the leg, and the shoe kind of comes off to the side a little bit. Now I'm going to add a little shadow here under my thumb and add a shadow on this side of my pant leg and follow the edge of my shoe. Let's see how that turned out. It turned out decent. Let's go ahead and reduce the opacity a little bit. And I think that I like the shadow under my hands, I like the shadow under the cat, and I like the left leg, but I think the right leg could use a little bit of work. So I would probably take this layer 3, and throw it in the trash and try again. The thing that you want to keep in mind for the shadows is that they all should be on the same side to make it look realistic, because the sun is in one spot, so if your light's coming from the left, then all of your shadows need to be on the right. So, once you are finished refining your shadows and getting it just the way you want it, then you are finished with this project. You can save it as a PSD, and then save one copy as a JPEG that you can put onto your photo website. That's it for now.